In this video, I'm going to go over this part of the unit, applications of microorganisms. We are going to look into environments and substrates of microorganisms. Microorganisms live within all ecosystems. All ecosystems. So when you say all ecosystems, you have to think about all possible ecosystems you know. This can be soil, water. When we say water, several types of water bodies. Many types of water bodies. You can think about rivers, seas and oceans, ponds, lakes, even in our drinking water. You are aware that the drinking water we get through our pipelines, through the water board, they have water purification plants. There are many steps in water purification just to get rid of these microorganisms in our drinking water. You know that tap water you get has a chlorine taste. It has a chlorine smell. The very reason we put that chlorine is to get rid of these microorganisms that are in our drinking water. If we have microorganisms in our drinking water, we are going to get sick. So unless we boil our water or purify it with chlorine, we are going to find microorganisms in our water that is going to make us sick. Soil and water are not the only things that where we find microorganism. We can find microorganism on air as well, the air we breathe. Microorganisms can be in air like up to 6 kilometers in the atmosphere. Do you know that there are some bacteria that actually live on clouds? Those fluffy clouds floating in the sky? Yes, there are bacteria that lives even on them. And when we say ecosystems, it's not just soil, water, air, but also inside other organisms. So into these ecosystems, it we can consider within other organisms. Within other organisms. So in addition to soil, water, air, you can find microorganisms within other organisms. So what are these other organisms? These other organisms can be animals or plants. These microorganisms can live inside animals, inside plants, or on them. So inside and on. Let's take human body. Inside human body, there are many different types of bacteria. Let's take gut bacteria, or the bacteria that lives inside our intestines. So that is an example of bacteria living inside, living inside. And if we take our skin, there are bacteria that live on our skin. so living on and inside. So understand the two things. So that means we can find microorganisms pretty much everywhere. Now you can understand these microorganisms can live within animal bodies as well. And that is why it is very important when you're consuming animal product like meat or fish. You have to thoroughly clean them and fully cook them before eating. Otherwise, those microorganisms that live inside the animal can get into our digestion tract. Even when you're consuming things like fruits, vegetables, you still have to properly clean them to prevent uh, consuming any bacteria or fungi that may cause diseases to us. Microorganisms can also be found under extreme environmental conditions. When we say extreme environmental condition, that means any condition beyond our regular living conditions. Just think about your regular living conditions. There is a specific temperature. There is a certain temperature you can tolerate, your body can tolerate. There's a certain amount of hydration you need to stay alive. Think about sitting in a desert under the scorching sun, drinking no water, no shelter, nothing, just sitting in a desert under the sun. How would you feel? Do you think you can survive long under that condition? No. But there are microorganisms that can survive those conditions. Those are the ones we call as extreme environmental conditions. One such example is hot water springs. You know there are hot water springs even in Sri Lanka. Their temperatures can vary. There are bacteria living inside volcanoes. So microorganisms in these environments can tolerate high heat, high temperature. We call them thermophilic microorganisms. Meaning they like temperature. They like high temperature. These thermophilic microorganisms, mostly bacteria, they can live up to 100 degrees Celsius, that kind of a temperature. And that is why we recommend boiling water. When we say we are boiling water, we assume that water is at 100 degrees Celsius. So if you maintain 100 degrees Celsius for several minutes, you can kill most of the bacteria. And for surgical purposes, we even we heat up things to a higher temperature. For surgical purposes, we may end up heating them up to like 121 degrees Celsius temperature and maintain at that temperature for several minutes to make sure we kill all possible microorganisms. So in any event, if you think your water is not clean, that it might be contaminated, a good idea would be to boil them for several minutes before drinking. Another extreme condition these microorganisms can live is salt marshes. Salty conditions. We know that salt, some food in our efforts to preserve them, like salted dried fish or certain salted pickles. We think salt can kill microorganisms, but still there are some microorganisms that can live under extreme conditions like salt conditions. These microorganisms can also live in conditions like diesel, petrol kind of environments. Now think, you can swim in water, but can you swim in petrol or diesel? No. But there are some microorganisms that can survive and thrive in these environments. Microorganisms can live not only in hot water but also in extreme cold conditions. For examples, glaciers. They can also live in deep sea, like under really dark conditions where there is absolutely no light and high pressure, where there are no fish or anything swimming, but there are microorganisms swimming in those conditions. So I would just write here deep sea, where there is no light, it's dark and also high pressure. In the very beginning, I mentioned that microorganisms live within all ecosystems. Now, there are three different terms here: one ecosystem, another one environment, another one substrate. Ecosystem is a functional interacting system. For example, we can take a rainforest. In a rainforest, you have trees, you have animals, there's rain, and things function in a smooth cycle. Animals interact with trees, trees interact with animals, everything interact with atmosphere, soil, those things. And what exactly is an environment? It is simply the surrounding area. Or the physical conditions. For example, things we defined earlier as soil, water, air. Then what is substrate? This is a specific surface or base. A surface or a base. For example, we can take a slice of bread. I believe pretty much everyone have seen mold fungi growing on bread. So the surface where this microorganism is specifically sitting on, where it's specifically growing, that is the substrate. Another example we can take, let's take the rainforest. Our ecosystem is rainforest, and in the rainforest, on soil, the soil in the rainforest, you can find the bacteria or a fungus or an algae. Let's say this microorganism is specifically sitting on a rock. So the rock become the specific surface or the substrate. So I believe now you have an understanding of these terms and an understanding about various environments these microorganisms live.